because I finally decided that it was time to get to the bottom of the Book of Enoch, specifically First Enoch. It seems like more YouTube channels and influencers are promoting this specific book like never before, claiming that it should be accepted with maybe the same authority as the book of Genesis or the book of Isaiah, and people are extremely confused about what the book of Enoch is and what it isn't. In my investigation to understand what this book is really all about, I made some very alarming connections, things that Gary and I will explore together in this video. But first, I need to provide much needed context. The book of First Enoch is actually made up of 5 different books that were originally separate manuscripts. These books all use the name of Enoch as a pseudonym and are dated to different periods in history with different unknown authors. None of the books predate the 3rd century BC, and what's even more interesting is that these books provide one of the most important source texts of Jewish mysticism. Chief among the Jewish mystical groups that cherished the 5 books of First Enoch was the Essenes, who lived in Palestine from about 200 BC to about 100 AD. Their headquarters was none other than the Qumran Caves, the same place where the Dead Sea Scrolls discovery was made in the late 1940s. Now, here's the key point you need to understand. A complete book of First Enoch was not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Only 11 Aramaic language fragments were found, and no fragments of the Book of Parables were found at all. This begs the question: how is it that we now have a complete book of First Enoch available in English as well as other languages? Well, here's what Australian theologian and textual critic Philip Esler explains in his article, Taking First Enoch Seriously. Though the Book of Enoch was originally written in Aramaic, it was translated into Greek around the turn of the first millennium and then translated from Greek into Ge'ez, or Ethiopic, in northern Ethiopia between the 4th and 6th centuries CE. He goes on to say that at some stage in ancient times, the Aramaic version disappeared entirely, and then so did most of the Greek, with exception of some useful chunks of the Book of the Watchers quoted by a Greek writer in the 9th century CE. The Ge'ez version, containing the full text of First Enoch, remained essentially unknown in the West until copies of it were brought to Europe in the 1770s by the Scottish explorer James Bruce. Now, if you are not familiar with James Bruce of Kinnard, he was a documented Freemason who was initiated in Lodge Canongate Kilwinning No. 2 on the 1st of August, 1753. He was referred to in the Lodge's records as the Abyssinian Traveler, which, in case you didn't know, Abyssinia was the historical name for the Ethiopian Empire. Of course, 20 years after he was initiated as a Mason, James Bruce brought 3 copies of the Book of First Enoch back to Europe. This is exactly why I reached out to Gary Wayne. If you're not familiar with his work, he has successfully mapped out the entire family tree of the secret societies. He has outlined the entire organizational structure from the top down in what he refers to as the thelemic tree of the mystery schools and Luciferians.